All right, we are live. Welcome to 422 620. We are talking about cookies, clickjacking, and the domain object model. Reminder that next month, Monday before Thanksgiving, the class will be only online and on YouTube, but it won't be in person. So if you come here in person on that day, you'll be by yourself. So don't do that. It's in the syllabus I told you all the time. Here's the schedule coming up. We are here on, it is Wednesday, October 11th. We're talking about cross-site scripting. Yeah, and cookies and clickjacking. I have to turn in midterm grades by Friday. So you'll get those. They'll be based basically on the assignments you've done before, but not on the assignment that's due on Sunday because I won't be done in time. Next Monday, we'll do a review talk more about cross-site request forgery and a couple other small topics. And then a week from today is the second exam. The TAs and I will grade that vigorously over the rest of that week and weekend. And so I will email you a personalized email telling you how you're doing in the class, all the scores that you have, your total grade. And then for a small minority of the students, they can look at it and say, I'm not making it, and decide to drop. Because the last day to drop, I think, is Monday the 23rd. So by that time, though, you've had 2 exams, a bunch of assignments, and you'll know how you're doing. If you got, you have a chance to get a good grade next Wednesday, if you're doing well, fine. And I'll talk more about the exam, although I can tell you now, it will be similar to the assignments we've had. Finding of the assignments we've had, there is one due by noon on Sunday. Sunday the 15th is the Sunday coming up. There are 4 problems. I'll talk more about those shortly, about halfway through. Okay.
Are you sharing your screen?
Excuse me?
Are you sharing your screen for the slides?
Yes. Oh, thank you. No, no, okay. I'm glad somebody's awake. I'm not. All right. Let's, thank you. I am recording it. Gee, some people are so picky. Okay. Yes. Again, online only. Upcoming schedule, that's copied right from the syllabus, although midterm grades on Friday. This is the, you're seeing this now, right? Yep, everything's working fine. Okay. Are you seeing just the slides? Are you seeing anything else?
Yes, we can see you in the slides now.
Me, I don't know how I can get rid of me. You don't want to see me, for Pete's sakes. Okay, well, all right. Moving on. How do I get rid of me? Oh, well, you'll have to live with me, I guess. Sorry. All right. Cookies. We'll talk about cookies. Oatmeal chocolate chip is my favorite, but cookies are information that the server sends to the browser and the browser sends back to the server. You don't see the cookies on the screen. They're hidden information. I don't know why they call them cookies, sometimes magic cookies, but that's information that's sent back and forth. Here's how it goes. Okay, you want to go to a website, so you type in the URL, the browser sends a request to the web server. The web server sends back a response, and along with the HTML that you see on the screen, in some of the option information, they send a cookie, which can be pretty much anything. It's usually a bunch of numbers, coded values. They send the cookie. And then the next time the browser sends a request to that same server, they send the cookie. So the server sends the cookie to the browser, your client, the user, and then the user sends it back every time they make a request to the same server. Web servers are what we call stateless. That is, you don't have a continual connection to it. You just send a request, it sends back a page. Easy enough. How does it know you're the same person? Particularly if you had to log in. How do you know this is somebody who's logged in, not just somebody who jumped to that page? Well, it's done with cookies. Because for instance, when you log in, the server sends a cookie back to your browser that says you are logged in. And then your browser sends that cookie to the server. The next time you go out there, it goes, oh, this person is already logged in. Yes. Server, if you have a program on the server, it can get that cookie information. There's session information. You can get that and then use that to figure out what you're going to do with the user. Frequently, the cookie itself is a number. It's just a number that's sent, and then that program on the server uses that number as a key to the database to find out who is this person and what am I supposed to be doing about it. So you only have to send a small amount of information. Some cookies are very large, some are just a short number. And of course, if you send information across the web, it could be intercepted by somebody with an HTTP proxy server. We'll look at that in a little bit, and they could change it. So how do you protect things from being changed? Well, the same way we've talked about before, you put a hash on it and you encrypt it. And you have to encrypt the hash, but you can encrypt the whole thing. That way, nobody will be able to change it without the server knowing it. And since the server is the only one doing the user, the browser does not change the cookie. The browser just sends back the same bunch of bytes that it got from the server. So the server can make a cookie, put a hash on it, encrypt it, probably just using AES because nobody else needs to know this, and then send it off to you. You send it back. And if anybody was to change it, it'd be immediately obvious because the hash wouldn't match. Okay, what's in a cookie? You can have all sorts of information in that cookie, whatever you want to put. And again, frequently it's just a number, so you can look up the other things in the database. But you might put the user's name. Who is this? So a lot of the websites will say, hi, Joe, and because it knows that you've logged in. Browser information, where have you been clicking? What did you click on? Where have you been? Form data, credit cards, yes. Do I know you? And information about where you're located, graphical information, and all sorts of things. Basically, anything the browser has available or the server has available can send back to the browser, form a cookie, something the server might want to know the next time you're here. Cookies come in two flavors. You can have session cookies and persistent cookies. Session cookie is sort of temporary. It only is used for that particular browser session. The cookie itself is only stored in memory and RAM. It isn't stored out on the disk. When the browser closes, that cookie disappears. Notable when you're looking at information going back and forth across the server, session cookies do not have expiration dates. Persistent cookies do. And of course, session cookies are a bit more safe because they aren't stored any place that might possibly be seen. Persistent cookies are stored on the disk or the file system of the client. They have an expiration date. That's how you can tell if you see a cookie going back and forth. Is this a session cookie or a more persistent cookie? Basically, it doesn't have an expiration date. It has an expiration date. It's a session. Now, there's a couple ways you can put expiration dates. You can say the expires down here in this example cookie. You can say expires that day. Another way is go max age. How long will this cookie last? And give it a number of seconds. The number of seconds may be just a couple hours, or it could be months, whatever you feel like. So you can either give a date. In this case, this thing says it expires February 23rd. Ooh, that one's expired. Or you can go max age and see how long it's going to last. That max age is not, that's 6 hours or something. Okay. There's other values here. HTTP only secure. We'll talk about those in just a minute. And the domain, where's it? Okay. So first clicker question. Oh yeah. No, it's the generic question. All right. About 3/4 of the people online. Let's take a look at what we have. Well, popular answer here in class is answer A, AES decrypted. You have a variety of answers online, converted from hexadecimal. It can't be converted from hexadecimal because if you look at it carefully, you'll see that it's got letters in it besides numbers. Hexadecimal only goes from letters A through F and the numerical digits. This has got a V, a G, so it can't be hexadecimal. So the 5 people said that, nope. In fact, I would try base 64 decoding it. Because base 64, if you remember, we talked about that before, it converts any binary values into uppercase, lowercase letters, the digits, and 2 other things, like a slash and some other character. That's about it. Everything else. That way, you can send binary values or any values without getting confused. If you have commas, parentheses, any punctuation, it just all goes into characters and doesn't confuse them. In fact, that stuff in this case happens to be the words for tasty cookie converted to base 64. All right, moving on. You can put options in the cookies besides a text value. And the text value is a variable name equals the value, typical web thing. There are also options. I think it showed in some of the example. One of them is secure. If you have a secure cookie, it can only be transmitted over HTTPS. You can't use it on HTTP. So it couldn't be used in my web server, which doesn't have HTTPS. HTTP only is an interesting option. That means the JavaScript cannot access the cookie. Cookie can be accessed as part of the document object model. It's document.cookie. Document.cookie will give you the cookie. The whole string, by the way, sometimes they're long and complicated and you might have to parse it apart to find what you want. But if it's HTTP only, you're not going to see it in JavaScript. There's a path which can be used to specify where this cookie is to be stored. By the way, this path is not referred to your normal file structure. It is a path in the file system where the cookies are stored for this website. In other words, each website has a different, the browser keeps a different place for each website's cookies, and this would be the root for that website. And then domain, well, who's going to use this? You can have subdomains. In other words, if you're at ANT and you go to www.ncat, and you might go to registrar.ncat.edu. Well, that's a different domain. It's a subdomain. But if it's all NCAT, you can say, yeah, that's okay. These cookies will work for anybody in this domain. Other cookie options, same site. Same site means this cookie can only be used to go back to this site. You can't send it anyplace else. We'll talk about that when we talk about cross-site request forgery. Also, you can specify the same site can be 2 different values. You can say strict, only send this cookie back to the site where you got it. Lax is not to be sent to other sites except if the user navigates to the other site. And none means no, you can send it anywhere. Okay. Third-party cookies. Well, first-party cookie is one that comes from the site where you loaded the page. So if you go to www.acme.com and you get a cookie from Acme, that's a first-party cookie. If the website has mostly advertisements and pictures and stuff they get from other sites, those would be third-party cookies. And a web page may load all sorts of images. Remember, a web page has, the HTTP, which is the text of the page, and then there are all these images and other information that may be downloaded separately and from other sites that download those and display them. Several of them will come from organizations that sell advertisements. So here's my example. If you go to www.acme.com, and then in the acme.com webpage, it goes to ad guide, goes to ad guide to get an advertisement. And it sends a third-party cookie for ad guide. Later, if you go to something else, some other website, and that other website goes to adguide.com, the browser will send your adguide.com cookie to them. They can keep track of where you've been going, which may or may not be what you want. Some pages have lots of third-party cookies. Here is a page of a website, obviously from last year on Christmas, but you can see all sorts of advertisements, all sorts of pictures, advertisements. This is definitely from my wife. I try to avoid this stuff, but you can, all these things that you can click on, clickbait, and all these go to different companies, or maybe one specific company, but they're not the company that has the page. They're going to advertisers. And as you go to those sites, the information from those sites comes with a cookie. So you have cookies for all the different sites. Sometimes if you go to some online store and you look at something, you scan, oh, maybe I'll buy this. Oh, no, you don't buy it. Or maybe if you do, it records that you've been there. And then web advertising brokers sell advertisements will be told this information. And as you go to another site, same thing. So, oh, my example here is you go to Amazon and you look at something, then you go to another website, completely separate from Amazon, and you see advertisements on the side for the things that you're looking at on Amazon. How did they know that? Well, it's because Amazon gives information to the web advertising brokers. The web advertising brokers then sells that information to these sites that put it on their website. And then when you click on their website, you go to that ad, they get paid on a per-click basis. So people are interested in putting these advertisements on their webpage because they get paid for it. So backing up, yes. Why does this company have all this stuff on their webpage? Because every time if you go over here and you go, oh, that's interesting, click on that, then you will go to that company. And the people who own this webpage get some monetary remuneration for that. They get paid for your clicking. And so as you click on things again, it's all done with cookies. I can just tell you, one day I was in my home, oh, the cheese slicer broke. And I go back, and my wife logs on to a website and goes, oh, you want to buy a cheese slicer? How do they know that? We do not have one of those Alexa things in our house because it listens. Yes, sometimes you only have to think about it and it's got it. So is there audio? No, I don't know how it thought we wanted a cheese slicer. That is one of those mysteries of the web, because I don't have any audio. I don't think I have any audio devices unless my phone was listening when I didn't expect it to. Who knows what's out there? Okay. Cookies can be used to track where you're going. Again, third-party cookies passed along as you are going from website to website, so it can keep track of where you are. Now that has a minor use for the consumer, is it tells people what you've been doing so that they can tailor things for you. They know that you've been out here. Most importantly, though, it allows the merchants to put advertisements out there that are targeted towards you. If you go to a website to look at horses, then you go to another website, it might try to sell you horse tackle and other information about that. Oh, you must like horses. Hey, well, you want to buy one of these things? So they keep track of all this information when you did it. And again, if you have a session, and many web pages have sessions, you started, you logged in, you are interacting with the web page. Because remember, the website itself doesn't have any state in it. Everything is, you send a request, sends a response. The only way it knows that you're doing this for the second or third time is from the cookie. It sends a cookie, it goes back and says, oh, I've talked to you before. and they often have session numbers. Cookies can be used again to personalize your ad. Whereas if you log in and you put in your name, the next page you come back and say, "Hi, Ken." Put your name and everything because it knows now who you are, and every time you come back, it knows that's you. And again, options. Here's an interesting page. This rather lengthy cookie comes from the North Carolina Digital Library. You can go to the digital library and check out things. If you have a Kindle book from Amazon, you can check out books through Amazon. It's kind of, yes, anyway, you can check out books from the library and it's free. Like library is one of the greatest inventions of humanity. You can go out and get books for free. It's really kind of neat. And this is a huge, but you look at this cover, well, there's got my email address in there, and it's got checkout limits by media type, periodicals, videos, ebooks. I can check out 6 ebooks. Wonder what happens if I edit that cookie to say I can check out 10 books. Can I then check out 10 books? I haven't tried that, but yes, other things. How long? Limit window days, 28. I can only check out books for 28 days. I wonder if I change that. Can I check them out for longer? Well, okay, the server sends the big cookie to my browser, and then I send it back to the server. The server probably doesn't save all this information. An alternative way, probably a more secure way to write this program would be to just send me a number and keep all this information in a database, a simple SQL database, feed off the number that it sends me and I send back to it. And you can make it secure again by putting a hash on it and encrypting the hash so that if anybody tries to change that number, it won't match. So yes, but in this case, they send all the information in their cookie, more than you probably want the user to know. Again, cookies are not visible. You have to look at them either with a HTTP proxy browser, or sometimes you can see them with the debugger. Yes, and you can see them with debugger. Curl, there's a program, CURL. It is available on Microsoft Windows as a command line. You go curl space www.ncat.edu, and it sends requests to the in that case, the NCAT server, and it comes back and it displays the text. It is not a HTTP or HTML interpreter. It just displays the characters that come back. It works on Windows and on Apple systems. It's generally available. It's kind of interesting. And you can see everything. And since you see the headers, in fact, I think there's an option to say, just send me the headers, don't show me the text. And you can see the cookies. In the debugger, you can look at the debugger, you can see the cookies. So I'll do that in a minute. There are some difficulties with cookies. Well, they are personally identifiable information. Again, if you send a big complex cookie with all the information in it, people might edit it somewhere along the way, changing their privileges. And again, better way is to just send a number, a key, and have that key secured with a hash, as we've talked about before, and then you know it hasn't been changed. The back button, anybody who does a web program, that back button is an annoyance. This goes back, and if the cookie has been changed by interactions, the back button. Now the cookie and the page you're on may not always match. If you switch to a different browser, even though you're on the same site, you're the same person, different browser uses different types of cookies. So if I use Chrome to go, and then I come back and I can use Microsoft Edge browser to look at it, Microsoft Edge will not know what Chrome got, and it doesn't have the same set of cookies. So we'll go out with one browser that has cookies. They come back to that website, it will know me. If I go out with a different browser, it will not know me, which may or may not actually, sometimes that's an advantage. Sometimes I use different browsers because I don't want them to know who I am. the European Union believes that cookies are personally identifiable information. In other words, the cookie specifies who you are in a sense. In a sense, there are restrictions on keeping private information that the European Union General Data Protection Regulations, or GDPR. GDPR says they can't use cookies unless the user agrees to them. If you've been a long time web user, several years ago, in fact, probably since 2016, all of a sudden, all the websites pop up in the bottom, say, click here to approve the use of cookies. Previously, they didn't care. But now, if the website's going to appear someplace in Europe, well, they got to do that, or else they're going to violate the GDPR, and that is a violation of the law in Europe, and you're going to get hit for that. Companies do not want to get penalized for that. So they have to get your consent by clicking. Frequently, there's an option to set the cookie options. You can say, yes, agree to all the cookies, or click on cookie preferences. If you go to cookie preferences, you can click on necessary cookies and turn off all the others, which is usually a good idea. There's the tracking cookies, the advertising cookies. Maybe you don't want those, so you can click on that. You can prevent the system from keeping cookies on a long term. You can make all persistent cookies into session cookies by using the option in your browser for, well, in Microsoft Chrome, they call it incognito mode, where it won't save any of the pages. It doesn't save the cookies, the site information, doesn't show up in your HTTP history. Yes, so when you go to that website, it doesn't keep any information. When you log off, and you come back, it doesn't know anything that you've been there. Microsoft Edge calls it in private. Safari calls it private browsing mode. All the browsers have it, but it's there to not store this information. Place where I work in the summer tells you always use the incognito mode, because sometimes the information stores from one session to another. If you're working there in the morning, go out to lunch, come back, if it gets confused, if it gets to set the cookies, so they just say always use the incognito mode until you come back and log in, no problem. Did you have a question? Excuse me, how to use Tor? Oh, Tor is different. Yes, Tor, the dark web, Tor. We will talk about that a little later on, but this is separate from that. And yes, you probably don't want to use cookies on a Tor browser, because the whole concept of the dark web is that no side knows who the other one is. And so you wouldn't want to use cookies, because that's revealing a little bit about who you are. But we'll talk about Tor. Tor is a tool used for the dark web to go to sites that often sell things that you don't want to sell in public. And we will talk about that. Oh, okay. Yes, again, document.cookie looks at cookies. You can see them out there. You can, if it's HTTP only, then the JavaScript cannot see the cookies. It cannot do anything with it. Where are we? Let's take a minute here to look at a browser. Oh, okay, hang on. Guess we won't press that button if I can find. All right, let me go back to, where did
If you're talking, we can't hear you online.
Okay, now can you hear me? I apologize. This thing has not been doing what I want. All right. So I've gone into the browser. I pressed Control Shift I. That's the secret to get into the debugger in Chrome. Safari, Microsoft Edge all have this mode. If you go up to Options, go down to the Settings Options menu, you'll see it. I just remember, yeah, if you go Settings, you can go down and find more tools. Yeah, developer tools, Control Shift I. Yes, okay. So we've got the website over here. If I can get this to, well, okay. There's HTML. There's other things. Watch, and I was hoping I could adjust the size. Well, see. Oh, too many settings. I don't have the time to play with that right now. Yes. Normally, when I do it on my computer at home, I can adjust. Anyway, you can see here is the HTML. You can also see what's been going across the network. Packets have been going across the network. Yes, there was a GET request, status code okay, got that. You can see all the stuff that's happening. Go back to elements, see this. And no, now I've lost the stuff I wanted to see. There, okay, right, sorry. Watch, this is the debugger. That is the cookie. We can go in here and say, I want to watch, add watch, document.cooki. Well, yes, it knows all about that one. Document.cookie, press enter, and there is the cookie, which is not very interesting. It's a bunch of hexadecimal characters, but that's your cookie. You could get that in the JavaScript. If you had some reason to get the cookie, you could go out and look at that as a JavaScript. When you go to the acme.com website, yes, it gives you go out there, it gives you a cookie when you go, and then when you make a new request, it sends the cookie back to the server. Hey, we can look at that in just a minute. Just hang on. We'll do that. Okay, so this is one way. By the way, this is the browser. You can look at cookies, or you can look at other variables. Say you have a variable here like Google add with. Oh, that looks like it's a global. We have global variables here. Scope call stack. Not global listeners, but we can look at other variables. Sometimes be able to change these things. So you could add Google add with. Yeah, that's a nice one. And it's null. You can see all the values in the JavaScript in the HTML5. Oh, yes. And if you pause this, you can see a lot more of it. This doesn't have any JavaScript that runs, so I can't pause it because it's not running. And if you pause it, though, you can look at all the variables like any debugger. Okay, enough of this. Control Shift I, but that's really useful. If you wanted to change something that was going to go across to the server, let's get back to PowerPoint. And we'll share that. Okay. Hopefully everybody can see the web page now. Okay, moving on. Let me explain about the domain object model. We mentioned it briefly, but it's a way of identifying the elements in an HTML page. JavaScript can access a whole page by names and by element ID. It's object-oriented. Oh, you object-oriented people. It's hierarchical. So yes, the document is the top one, and there's other root elements, there's all sorts of parts. There are bodies, there are paragraphs. All the elements you have on the page are identified. And there are properties. The property, assume you have this object X. Well, inner HTML is the HTML of that object. So if you have a paragraph in HTML is a bracket P. If you have a paragraph, the inner HTML is the text in that paragraph. Not only the letters that are displayed, but all of the markup, such as make it bold, make it italics, that sort of stuff is also available. The node name, what's the name of that node? What is the value of that node? It's similar to the inner HTML, but node value would be used if you had a text box where somebody types something in, and now you want to go get that, you can reference that text box, say X equals the text box, you get it, and then the node value will be what did they enter in there. The parent, because of course this is hierarchical. Oops. Yes, you can get who's the parent of this object. What are the child? Any child you have, any attributes that might be on this. Attributes are specified in HTML as saying something like src equals file name. Inside quotes. You can get that information. You can get all the information. Now, frequently in a program, you need to get access to a particular part of the HTML, because your program during its execution might want to change an area of the screen. You've got a paragraph there, or some paragraphs are simple. You have a paragraph there. You give the paragraph an ID. You just say ID equals something. That's not shown on the screen. And then you can use the get element by ID function, passing it the ID, and it returns the object that is that. So now you have that here, my paragraph is a variable in JavaScript. So that variable now has that object that represents that paragraph. And you can change, you could get its value, you could change the attributes. Here, we're changing the inner HTML to say something completely new. So you can change that. So at some point during the execution of the HTML5 or the JavaScript, you can change what appears in the screen because you're changing that paragraph. Wherever that paragraph was on the screen, it originally said original message, but then you can change it to something completely new. So text that shows on that. That's used a lot. The program will send data off to a server, get something back from the server, and it'll say it, or it wants to display an error message. You type something in, you're supposed to fill out this field, and you filled it out wrong, or you forgot to fill it out. It wants to display a message to you on the screen. It simply changes a paragraph or some text field to the message it wants to say. Might even change the attributes like the color and the font. There are properties of styles. You can say, I want to change here. As an example, there's a style property. You have a paragraph. It's just, we call it ID1. And then we want to, when you click on this button, we have a button object appears on the screen. Button says, click me. And then when you click it, you are producing an on-click event. And when you get an on-click event, that means call document or get element by ID1. No, this is ID1, and then change the style color to red. So this will appear suddenly in red when you click that, because you've changed aspects of the style. The style has all sorts of things you can change: the color, the font, italics, bold, whatever you feel like. But this is not an HTML class. I'm just telling you it's there because these things appear in several things that when people are going out to change things, to make attacks on web pages, they're doing some of this stuff. Attribute names. Here's an attribute name, the SRC. It's an attribute. Again, attributes, ID is sort of an attribute. SRC is an attribute here. You have other attributes with length of frequently attributes you'll see. And here in the JavaScript, again, it gets element by ID. The ID is that. Get that one. That returns the image object, and you can set the source to happy. So instead of having the sad picture, you can change it to the happy picture during the execution of that. There are, again, in JavaScript, popular message. Well, when I do hacking, I usually show alerts because alerts are innocuous. They don't damage anything. We can do other attacks in the JavaScript, but I don't generally do that because I don't want to break things, but you can send that. So in JavaScript, you can do an alert, and you can concatenate things. Plus is the concatenate character in JavaScript. And again, there are all sorts of events that occur that HTML5 may recognize and then call something in Java. Most popular one is clicking, or even when you just move the mouse over an object, it can do something. It might change the color. So you see that sometimes you mouse over something and it changes the font or the color. Whenever you enter the page, whenever you leave the page, by the way, some people think, well, if you don't click on anything, you can't get attacked. Oh, no. There can be an event when you enter the page. So as soon as it gets there, it starts executing the JavaScript, whether you clicked on anything or not. No, you don't have to click on anything to get attacked. That's not true. Or when you change an element. That's very common for an entry field. All right, see if you're paying attention. Okay, there we go. I think I just told you the answer to that. Okay. Got it all. B, yes. Yeah, if you couldn't have been sleeping for too long. The answer is B, yes, as soon as the page is loaded. Of course, it could be, it's not only happens if you click on a field, it could happen if you click on a field. Can't be helped by sanitizing all input because this could be part of the JavaScript that's in the HTML that came down from the server. All right. I'd like to spend a couple minutes talking about the assignment that's out. The assignment is due by noon on Sunday. People ask, how do you do this? Well, I'll give you some hints. Questions 2 and 3. Question 2 asks you to log into the server. Use the real last 4 digits of your ID number, so I know who you are, give you credit for this, and enter the password. But I'm not going to tell you what the password is. You just, hey, this is a cybersecurity class. You should be able to log in without knowing the password. That's the whole purpose of the thing. I would recommend SQL injection. I happen to know that the program is ripe for SQL injection, so I'd try that. Question 3 says not only log in, but delete the student database, the student table, or in Java, in SQL, the word is drop the table. So drop the table, deletes the table. So not only do you assume I'm not using MySQL. MySQL doesn't allow multiple commands on a line, but assume that that's allowed. So, okay, that's how you do problems 2 and 3. Problem 4 is a cross-site scripting. That's a really easy one. Problem 4 is the only question that's not automatically graded. Problem 4, you have to copy what worked and put it back into Blackboard as the solution to this problem. And then the TAs and I will grade that. You have a question? Yes, okay. Question one. Question one is get a score better than 100 on that number-based conversion. I mean, you know, some of you people work real hard to get a good score. And then he says, well, I want something even better. Well, program doesn't give you a score better than 100 unless you do something sneaky. And that's the purpose of this assignment. Do something sneaky. I might point out, by the way, this is my website, and I am authorizing you to do something that would otherwise be unethical. But go ahead and do it. It's part of the assignment. It's part of the class. It's my website. Go at it. The question is, how do you know if you did it correctly? That's a good question. I'm not sure. Yes, sir. Excuse me? Yeah, normally if you did it, it ought to be obvious that it worked, but it doesn't tell you. Yes. Here, I'll give me a minute. We're going to do it. Okay. And again, there are two ways I know of to do question one. One is to use the debugger, which I just showed you, and go out there and change. The variable you're interested in, by the way, is numRight. You want to go out and change numRight to something over 20. Big number is nice. It doesn't have to be huge, but if you give it 25, you're going to get a score over 100. Or you can give it 100 and get a really good score. Yes, question. Yes, for question 4, whatever you put into the field that causes the pop-up message, then take that. So basically, when you type it in, copy it. Go, select it, Control-C, copy it, press Enter. If it works, go over to Blackboard and put it in. Okay, if you screenshot it, that's right. I want to see the pop-up message. Yes, and you'll know you did it right because a little box will pop up and say your name. If you don't see the message, you don't see the box, you didn't do as good. By the way, spacing is important. I would recommend just don't put any spaces in your entry. Just take all the spaces out. Don't press the space key at all. Spaces in particular places. If you go bracket, space, script, it isn't going to work. For any HTML the element name has to come immediately after the bracket. If there's a space there, it's not going to work. So that's and it looks, and the casual observer, it looks like it ought to work, but it doesn't. Okay. For proxies, there are, again, multiple proxies that you can use. There is the Zap proxy from OWASP. That's OWASP. And then the Burp Suite Community Edition. And that's available for free. Of course, you can always buy the professional edition and pay $450 for it. But if you want to, go ahead. But I recommend the community edition. It works fine. Here's documentation on how to use it. That works pretty well. Let's give that a try. So let's go back. Let me I'm here, end slideshow. We have stopped sharing our page. Oh, I can't minimize that. All right, let's Brookers, I don't know why you're there, but okay. Let's share my screen. I'm going to just share my screen and see how this works. Okay, now I happen to have Burp installed on this machine, so I go up to Burp Suite Community Edition, which I previously loaded. Hopefully online, people can see this Burp Screen Community Edition just popped up. You can see that? Somebody say yes or no?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
good.
I can see it.
And you can see it here, live studio audience. All right. It comes up with this welcome, and it says this as well. You've got the cheap versions. You can't change this. So next, none. And use the defaults. I don't even know what defaults I would want to change. So go in here, it starts this, start project, wait. Okay, we are interested in being a proxy. It does all, Burp Suite does all sorts of things. You can have fun with that sometime later, but I'm care about the proxy. I want to turn intercept on. So I'm going to click that button. In fact, I'm going to go out to settings and scroll down on this. I have requests. And those requests are requests from my browser to the server. It's going to display those and stop them. I also want to take a look at the information coming back. So I want to intercept the information coming back from the server. So I've got those both. So I click the request and the response. Okay. I've got intercepts on. Let's open its little browser. There it goes. Clickety clack. No, don't do that. We don't. Okay. So here we are. We can look at things going across the web. Let's go to, oops. Okay, here is a request. Oh, no. This is the GET request captured by the HTTP proxy. That's Burp Suite Communications HTTP proxy. We have it on proxy setting intercept, and you can see the GET. The GET, it's going out to www.acme.com, telling them what do we have. I got a Windows platform, a couple other. I'm using systems. I got Windows NT 10. I've got to use a Chrome. What version? Tells them lots of stuff and all sorts of information. I'd like English, thank you. So I then click forward. Now it's stopped us. The proxy has got the message. It has not sent it to the server. If I want to send it to the server, and I probably do, I'll click forward. And it goes to, now this is the request coming back. It tells you where it came from here. And this is another GET, acme.com, forward that one. Here's the response. This is going to get back the whole page from acme.com, some information, and we'll forward that back to the server. Now, if we find that little server, not yet, forward this page. I forgot to forward that one. Yes. Here's a request that goes out to get some information, other information. Besides, more than happening than one web page, which it's going out and getting JavaScript, getting more information. It worked, got it back. Okay, this is what I want. Here's a cookie. We've got a cookie here coming back from the server. It's giving me, this is a DoubleClick. DoubleClick.net is a advertising broker. It's one of the most popular advertising brokers as far as I can tell. There are a lot of websites I go to. If you look at the source, it's going to DoubleClick.net where it's getting advertisements. And so there's the cookie. It would be a third-party cookie. Or that, of course, I could just drop it and it wouldn't go there. And others, all sorts of information from this one website. Get cookie again. That's the same. This is a cookie to the measurement site. Response, more stuff. Get tired of seeing all this. I'll just turn intercept off. Let's go back to the website. And there's the acme.com webpage. But you can see all the information coming across. And you could edit it. Let's go to another site that you may know. Oh. Yes. We're going to go to the metric quiz, which you didn't take. And there it is. We will, let's go back and turn Intercept on, back to the browser. And we'll just go for test, because they're not really me. And then I will okay. There we go. We're sending the information there. And number right. Oh, 0. Is that all I could do? Oh, I think I should have done better than that. I'll up that. Just change it to 30. Forward that. Good deal. Okay. Forward that one. And there we are. Now, if you go back here, it thinks I did terribly. But the server got the score saying I got 30 out of 20 right, or 150%. And since I did it in only 12 seconds, I'm going to get a really good grade. That's what you need to do. Any questions about that? Oh, we got it. Okay, if you go into the debugger and change the num_right variable, it will appear on the screen. If you stop it in the burp suite as the information is going across the network from your browser to the server and change it in between, the information is left your browser. The browser has sent it. It doesn't know it's going to be captured by the burp suite proxy, and then you change it. Yeah, if you change it, yes. If you edit it with the browser, change the variable num_right to something big, yes, you'll see that on your score. When you get done, down here, it will tell you score is some big number. That's the goal, something bigger than 100. If though you edit it, if you do this by doing the burst group as I just showed, then you will not see a big score down here. I got a score of 0, but the server thinks I got a score of 150. Yes. How do you know that you got a good score? Let me think about that. Okay. Yeah. There's another question. Somebody else wants to know too. Yeah, you can always see what has been sent, but yes, and again, if you send something bigger than 20 in a short period of time, you're going to get a score of over 100, and that's the goal. I'll think about how I can make the scores available to everyone. That's it's just a database. I should be able to make a web page and have to type in your number and give you your score. Hey, shouldn't be that hard. We're programmers. That's why we can do these things. Let me work on that issue. I'm going to close this. Any more questions about burp suite and how to use it? If not, we're going to close everything. Go back to this. All right, and stop sharing this. Share that. Okay, hopefully people online can see the clickjacking information. Yes. Okay.
Yes, we
Yeah,
can.
we got a yes.
Yes, I can see
good.
it.
Thank you. Every now and again, my fingers don't quite do what I want to do. All right, clickjacking is another attack. It's pretty tricky. It's got several names: stroke jacking, otherwise. And basically, it's putting one web page on top of another web page. There's a feature in HTML5 called iframes. Iframes are you can specify another web page is supposed to go in this frame. So your web page can have another web page in it, which might be nice. You can show a different web page in your web page. There's a little window in there. And so with clickjacking, you show the other web page in the window, and then you put more on top of it. I got an example here, and we're running out of time, but I'll show the example. I use absolute positioning because I want to be able to put information on top of the page. So here's the victim web page. It has a button. When you click the button, it goes to the happy page. And then I have the attacker's web page. It's going to put it right on top. Let's try this. I just so happen, okay. Should have made this more guy. Oh. Clickjacker. This is actually not as interesting as it wants to. Let's go back and look at the original. There, okay. ClickVic, or which is my click victim. This is the happy web page. This is, I have a big happy picture here. You click on this, and what more could you want than an assignment in Comp 642 or 422, 620? What could be more interesting than that? But then, if I convince you, though, instead of doing ClickVic, you do, oh, what was the other one? Let's back up to that. Clickjacker.
We can't see it.
Professor, we can't.
You can't see this? Oh, thought I shared my screen. Okay, let's try this. I'm sorry. It's not working. Okay. First of all, I apologize for that. Let's here's a web page that looks almost the same. This is the victim web page. This web page has a big happy picture and a big button here. If you click the button, what more could you want than going to the assignment? That's great, Joy. Okay, so we'll go back. That's it. Now, that is, and the, if you want to look at the source on this thing, no, maybe we won't. Okay, oh, how about if we do it here? Yes, view page source. It's very short. It's just what I showed in the slide. It's got that target. It's got that. There's nothing new. Okay, now I have another web page that I might have sent to you in an email. Oh, why doesn't that work? There, because it's got the name on it. This looks like the same way, because mostly this is a big iframe. The iframe goes here and it has the whole of the web page in it. No borders, nothing. Now, so it is in fact the same web page. I haven't duplicated it, it's the same web. When I click there, it goes someplace else. Let's show how we do that. Okay, we're going to get that back here to and then share the screen, do all these. Okay, hopefully now you can see the attacker's web page. Yes, okay. ClickVic was the victim. That I put that in a iframe, same size as it normally was, took off the border so you can't see it. And if you reference it, it goes to someplace else. I have the set the opacity to 0. Let me talk about opacity. You can put one web page right over another. You can specify for objects on an HTML page its opacity, or how visible is it. Typically, normally, the opacity is 0. That's the default. Or excuse me, 1.0. That means it's solid. You can't see through this thing. You put something there. But you can set the opacity to any value between 0 and 1. And here's the example. We've got blue has got an opacity of 1, but the green has some opacity, say 50%. You can see through it. You can see the red behind it. You can see that through the green. If you set the opacity to 0, it's invisible. You can't see it at all. That's the trick for clickjacking. You set the opacity to 0, put that object on top of another object. They can't see it. They're going to click on that, what they think is the object below, but in fact, they're clicking on your object on top of it. Stole this from this web page, seems to explain it pretty well. You send somebody an email or something, get them to click on the website. It looks like they're going to where they want, but in fact, they're going to the other site. When they click on it, it goes off to the attacker's website and sends back whatever information they want, captures that. You can specify what is on top of the other in several ways. In other words, you can, this is not an HTML JavaScript class, so we're not going to go over this in any detail. But yes, you can specify different, different squares, and then because of the order which you specified them, you said red first, then green, then blue. The last one you specified, blue ends up on top. Although I could have specified their Z index, and that specifies the order. The larger the Z index, the more on top of number or objects on the screen with a smaller Z index are behind objects with a larger Z index. And so you can put them in order. In this example, red has a Z index of 3, green's 2, and blue's 1. So even if you specify whatever order, blue is going to be in the back. And then you can specify the opacity of these things. This one. Okay. We're not going to click on this one, but an object will appear on top if it has a smaller, a larger Z value, regardless of opacity. Opacity isn't, okay. Now, the opacity doesn't determine where it is, but just determines whether you can see it or not. Clickjacking was a real popular thing for a while on social networks. You can prevent it several ways. There is techniques in the program JavaScript, you can call frame busting. It goes out there and checks, am I in an iframe? If it is in an iframe, you can take some steps to say, get me out of the iframe. Or you can have, whoops, gee, that happened. As I said, you can have a header, you can have the option, X-frame options, or specified content security policy that will specify that you can't do this. Again, you can find out, am I on top? Well, if you're not, if I'm fine, do everything. Otherwise, make me the top item. And so this is a frame busting technique, and you can go out there and put this in your website on load. So on the load, it runs this JavaScript. JavaScript goes, says, am I in an iframe? If I'm not, break out of the iframe, put this page on top, so it won't allow clickjacking. All web pages, let's go back though. All web pages should have some of these set. Basically, X-frame options deny is really good, unless for some reason you want people to put your frame out there. You should turn that off, and or allow only from the URL where it came. We will not do this click because we're running out of time, but this one, where can you, two web pages can be displayed at the same time, well, they could be side by side. One can be on top of the other for clickjacking, or one can be part of the other. You can have a separate frame. So the answer is D, all the above. How do you stop this? There's the content security policy, CSP, that you can put in the headers and specify what are the frame options. X-frame options was the old way to do it. Now the way is to use the content security policy. And that can be used to prohibit loading one page in another. You can say frame ancestors, none of that. That doesn't allow any, or you can say, oh, well, you can have this embedded in another page, but only if that page comes from the same website. Or you can say it has to come from a particular website. And there are other, you can say where the source, the URI, what you want to do about it. There's all sorts of CSP being content security policies. Okay, that's enough for today. Reminder, the assignment is out there. It is due by noon on Sunday. I have been explaining to my TAs that I want this graded soon, so you'll have it graded in time for class on Monday, so you can see how you're doing. On Monday, we will be talking about cross-site scripting, and we'll be doing a review of everything for the exam, which is 1 week from today. On Friday, or sometime between now and Friday, I have to put out midterm grades. They will be based on the score you've got so far as an average between your exam 1 score and the average of your assignment so far. I will not be counting the one that's due on Sunday, because that's Sunday. I have to do it by Friday. I'll average you have, take all the assignments, throw out the worst, take the rest, average them out, get a number, average it with your exam score, and that's what I use to get the grade. And that's what will appear as your midterm grade. But by the way, after the exam on Wednesday, sometime that weekend, I will summarize all your grades and send you an individual email with some of your grades, telling you what your so far course grade is. And for that small number of students who are not doing well, you might see that it's hopeless and you might want to drop the class. The last day to drop the class is the Monday after that. Okay, and once more, just to remind you, a month from now, November 20th, online only, or YouTube, but there will be no in-class course. Don't come to Graham 208, or yeah, I won't be here. Okay, thank you, that's it. See you next time. Any questions?
Have a great weekend. No questions here.
Yes, Professor. For question number 4, I was wondering, Professor, do we have to submit a screenshot or just the script would be fine?
Just the script. Don't need to send a screenshot. The screenshot should work. The TAs are pretty adept at figuring out what you meant, but all we need to see is the text that you entered. I recommend that once you type it in, because once you hit enter, it's going to disappear. Once you type it in, you think it's correct, just select it, Control-C, copy it, hit the send button. If it runs, great. Now that you got it copied, quickly go into Blackboard and paste it in Blackboard, and you're done.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
And of course, questions 1, 2, and 3, you don't need to do anything. All that is recorded in the server, and we will know. Okay. Any other questions?